Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to my beautiful bride, Kirsty, Byrd. Stand up. There's always a powerful partner behind anybody you see in front of you, right? So baby, I love you. Thank you for being there. She just gave me a kiss on the cheek, said, you're going to do so good, honey. You're amazing. Those kind of things inspire us. And I see that from my circle, Brent and Kathy Gove, Matthew and Lexi. I see it in my circles, right? So they had me on the calendar to speak a little bit today. So I thought, what can I do to impact you the most today? I've been coaching for about 10 years now, and I thought, I know what it is. I know what I think I can impact you on today. So Ray, if you want to cue it up. What I want to do today is talking about mastering the emotions of prospecting, right? I told you it was the big rock. It's the green on your calendar. It's the thing that makes the most importance in your business. Every time before I come up to speak, my palms are sweaty. Every time I get to make my phone calls in the morning, I get nervous. All right? Everybody looks at me, not everybody, but some look at me and go, man, if I could just have what you have. It's because I've ground for years learning the skill set of it. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to fail forward. And so if you leave anything today, just write down, fail forward. Be willing to fail enough that you can fail forward into your dreams of what you want to accomplish. So today I'm going to be talking about the mindset, and I learned this really from Tom Ferry. I had success in my career, in different measurements. But really when I joined the Tom Ferry organization and started coaching for Tom, big shout out to Tom. Bill Pipes was my personal coach. Bill Pipes put out a Facebook post saying, if you're making $1 million a year, I have an opening for one coaching client. I was not making $1 million a year, but I had $1 million a year mindset. I did not have a broke mindset. And I called him and I said, hey man, I know you probably have other candidates. I'm not making $1 million a year, but I have a track path record to show you how I can make $1 million a year. And he took me on that belief. And it was one of the greatest coaching moves I've ever done, is coaching with Bill Pipes. And then now we've become great friends over the years. But he helped me, again, mastering the emotions of prospecting. So I'm going to walk you through that today. I don't have a clicker, so you just roll with me as we roll. Thank you. Call reluctance affects individuals in many different ways, right? If you keep finding yourself busy rather than doing the calls, you're making excuses for this, right? I get it that will feel like an 800-pound anvil at times that you're picking up, but it's the critical component of this. Even if you're new to the real estate space, you have to carve out an hour a day for prospecting, or the equivalent of that 5 hours a week. That's the minimum, right? That, like, if you want to stay in business. And we have a rule where if you do 2 hours a day, you could thrive in business. You do 3 hours a day, you will dominate in your businesses. And be honest with me now. How many people are prospecting 1 hour a day? Okay, good. Keep your hands up if you're doing 2 hours a day. Keep your hands up if you're doing 3 hours a day. Just freeze. Keep your hands up. Look around, everybody. Look around, honestly. I recognize one in the back, Tom Daves, Success Leaves Clues, #1 KW agent in the world, 7 years. He's going to be up this afternoon after lunch. I see a couple others. They understand. Clark Broom's built a massive organization outside of real estate. Success Leaves Clues. These are really important. So it's that sinking feeling in your stomach, the butterflies. All that stuff's natural. It's a fight or flight, right? That's what's going on. It's a fight or flight for you. Embrace that suck. Just embrace it and understand that what you want in life is just beyond that fear. So I want you to be bold today. I want you to think about contribution, not selling. Because when we put it in a frame of a mindset that we're trying to sell somebody something, we get in a different posture. But if you're coming from a place of contribution, I'm going to prove it to you today, then it's a different place that we live in. Next slide, please. So believe in yourselves, #1. Right? That mindset. Moving that 12 inches from your head to your heart. Getting in a place of true contribution where it doesn't matter if you're calling it expired, you are acting in contribution. If you come from a place of me, it's going to come off that way. It just is. Right? So even though I sound like some kind of animated character today because I screamed so loud during our whole session yesterday, it was awesome. But I really want you to think about this. You have to believe in yourself that you can get through it. You have to believe in yourself that you're not going to die. Sometimes that anxiety and that feeling can make you feel real emotions in your body. That's natural. We all have it. I got it before I came on stage today because I want to impact you and I want to have an influence on you to help you move from A to B to C to D in your businesses. I can't do that if I don't bring my A game, right? So that's why your body gets nervous. That's why you get a little scratchiness in your voice. Repetition will help that. I can jump on a stage anywhere in the nation and talk to 300 to 500 people without preparation, and I can crush it right now because I just have a confidence about it. I have an ability to deliver that message, and I have a belief in the content that I've talked about over time to do that. Right now, I can do it in Detroit. I can do it in Canada. It doesn't matter, right? What's important to understand is it didn't look like that in the beginning. The same thing's going to be for you when you make your first couple phone calls. It doesn't matter if you're trying to attract agents to your team or your organization. It doesn't matter if you're trying to attract expireds or FSBOs or whatever it is in your business. I think bonus session, one of the most opportune things you could do in your real estate business right now is unsolicited CMAs. You'll hear this, you'll hear me talking about this on my podcast, YouTube's, everything. Unsolicited CMAs are the greatest opportunity right now because number one, if you find a way not to be attached to it, you're delivering a value that they want. All homeowners want to know what their accurate current value is. They just don't want to put you out. They don't want to commit themselves to you because they're not asking for it. You're soliciting. You understand that? It doesn't matter how smooth your solicitation is, you're still soliciting. And I could change one script and change this. And so the difference in the script is by saying, for instance, hey, it's Randy Byrd with ABC Realty. I prepared this beautiful CMA for you. You didn't ask for it, but I'm happy to send it to you. What's your email and phone number or whatever? And they're going to say, I'm good, right? Because they weren't asking for it. It's unsolicited. But what about if I detach myself from the outcome of that? And what about if I go like this? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Hey, this is Randy Byrd over at ABC Realty. You didn't ask for it, but I prepared a CMA for you in a broader spectrum of the CMA in your whole neighborhood. And your house is one of the houses I used in that CMA. That's a true story, by the way. You have to use all the houses in that, whether it's sold or not. And you say, with a piece of paper in your hand, metaphorically, hey, I've got this done for you. Would you like a copy of it, or would you like me just to drop it in the trash? And guess what? When we did this survey, it went from like 1 out of 10 to 4 out of 10 people were willing to accept that. That's a 400% increase. That's the difference of a major shift in your delivery because of one little language shift. Do you understand the power of that? So when you start, if you don't understand that, you're going to get crushed. 1 out of 10 are going to talk to you maybe, and 9 out of 10 are going to hang up on you or not want it. So it's that little bit of shift. That's what I want you to think about today is a shift when we talk about this. Next slide, Ray. First reason for rejection. Nobody wants to be rejected. It's an inevitable part of life, right? Especially in sales when you're trying to build new relationships. Fear of being turned down, not liked, not being accepted is overwhelming, and it can convince ourselves not to take the risk at all. You understand that, right? You walk into a bar and and you're single and it's full of men and women, and you walk up to somebody and they immediately shut you down. Are you likely to go to the next one and the next one with the same enthusiasm? No, it's not. It's human nature. If we understand that, it's going to change everything. Next slide. So the second reason is fear of failure. Failure to ourselves, failure to the people we care about, which, by the way, they usually are the worst critics, just being honest. My dad, I love him dearly, and he's just a negative-minded, pessimist first. I don't know if he's 84 years old. He's amazingly in health, but everything is like, the worst case scenario. Let's just be honest. I love my dad. My dad is my soul. I lost my brother to suicide about 8 or 9 years ago. Lost my ex-wife to suicide shortly after. One of my best friends to suicide, all in a compacted time frame. And my dad was just that rock. He was just that guy that was my rock. So we talk all the time, super connected. He's my biggest fan, and he's my biggest critic. Absolutely, right? A true story, not true story, but it would be true if it happened. If I found gold bars in the back of my yard, and I came in, I said, Dad, don't tell anybody, but I found gold bars in the backyard. He's like, what? I said, gold bars. Gold bars are everywhere. Help me carry these. He's like, you know how heavy gold is? He goes, you know what's going to happen, don't you? And I'm like, no, what? He goes, we're going to move all those son of a guns out to the front yard. We're going to put them in the truck. Somebody's going to claim them. All that works for nothing. That's my dad. And I can keep going on. It's just how he mentally operates, right? It's his operating system. My operating system's different. I love my dad so much I had to have a compliance conversation with my dad. I had a boundary conversation with my dad. What's happening on CNN? Don't want to know. What's going on in the news? Don't share it with me. This is our boundary of love, right? And my dad to this day, did you hear? Oh, I can't talk to you about that. It's a true story. And so I had to take and put boundaries around my own father, the one I love most on this earth, because he's affecting me. So when we look at this fear of failure could be a big deal when you look at your inner circle. Is it your wife? Is it your family? Is it your brother? Is it your co-partners? Is it something, right? So it's a big deal. Make sure you really check this off the list and pay attention to it. Next slide, please. Third reason is fear of being a bother, right? We're over-solicited in this world. Let's be honest. We're over-solicited. It's in the tens of thousands of impressions a day in advertising, in Randy's texts, in Randy's Facebook posts, right? We're oversaturated with communication today, with billboards and signs and everything. We've put ourselves in a moat. If we could do it, we would literally put ourselves in a moat. We put our house in a moat and put a drawbridge on it and shut it when we come home. We've done that with caller ID. We've done that with call blocking. We've done that by opening the mail over the trash can. We've done all that. This is what's going on for you. You have to understand that you are now one of those people. Does that make sense? But you have to be able to remove yourself from that to be able to get through the failure to get what you want. And so it's really, really important to think about these three items of where you might be falling in for this if you're looking through the breakthrough to the next thing. All right? So, next slide. Harvard College professor once said that young people want to feel they belong more than anything else. The fact is people, if not all, want to feel acceptance, particularly in their circles. They want to belong, but they want to feel acceptance in their circles. How big is your circle? If it's really big, it's harder to get acceptance in that. I believe in like a wild pack of brothers of 5, and we can conquer the world. Right? There's people outside that circle that I care about. Everybody in this room is in my circle. But you may not be in that inner circle where I trust my soul with it yet, right? Understand that there's importance in that. We all want to belong. Next slide, please. As a matter of fact, 21st century phenomenon, Facebook, conceived and given birth at Harvard, tapped into the deepest human needs is to belong. That's why Facebook exploded. And how much of our self-confidence and our self-worth do we tie to Facebook, right? These young kids are really having a struggle right now because of this. You know, our kids, our grandkids. And so we've really got to take that in control. Next slide, please. Selling versus contributing. I talked about this. If you're coming from a place of contribution, I promised you everything's going to change. And you have to just reframe that. Next slide. Fight or flight response, it's a real thing. Dilated pupils, dry mouth, fast and shallow breathing, heart pounding. All these things are real things. You will get them if I put you in a stressful situation to make a phone call right now. I could put you in fight or flight right now if I brought you on this stage and said you have to call an expired or a past client that you haven't talked to in 6 years. What would I say? All these things are going to come up for you. Does anybody challenge this? Does anybody believe this? Right? Come on, raise your hands if you believe that this is a true thing. Thank you. It is a true thing. So, next slide. What if you were contributing and helping, even when you're not getting paid? Forget about you for a minute. You're contributing, and you're able to help somebody. And what about if I told you something that you weren't allowed to share to them? What's that look like? What if I told you, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 10 grand cash to give to somebody else you care about, but it's got to be somebody you're deathly afraid of calling. You can't tell them what's about. You just have to say, I need to get an appointment with you. I need to talk to you. Trust me. you're going to want to talk to me. Put yourself in that emotion for a second. If I said you had to call them and you had to get a listing by the end of the day, you don't have emotion behind that where you're contributing. It's really about you, even though we could try to reframe that. But if I tell you that you're going to give them $10,000 in real money, and like $10,000 in real money, right? 10 grand. If I said you're going to get 10 grand if you do this today, but you got to call people you really don't like, who would do that? Why would you do it? You want to help somebody? I love it. What about if you couldn't tell them what this is about until you got on a 30-minute appointment with them to express what's going on? You'd push through it. Anybody else push through it? A couple other hands? I already know you can push through it, baby. You're like, not getting my money. But who would come up here right now and make one of the most difficult conversational phone calls I can make for 10 grand? You would? Come on up. Give her a big hand. Come on. I don't have a mic, so you got to probably talk close to me. You don't get this yet.
Oh.
Why would you do it? Be honest.
Because I like a challenge.
Okay, deeper, deeper.
I want to help, and I want to fight through it. I'm scared.
Yeah, it's okay. Fight or flight, all that stuff's happening, right?
Yeah.
Here's the good thing. You don't have to make a call today.
Oh.
Here's the other thing. This is Chinese money.
Oh, great.
It doesn't say, like, made in China on it, but it's close.
Yeah.
But you get it as my gift for coming up here. It's not real. It's not real. Sorry.
I say, no, I don't want it.
Oh, don't tell them. It's not real.
I wouldn't take your money.
But take that as a gift. But thank you for coming up here. I want to demonstrate the emotion of that. Okay? Give her a big hand, honestly. The reason I do that drill, and by the way, I tone that way down because last time they bum rushed the stage. They knocked over a freaking confidence monitor. They're like, ah! And I'm like, it's not real money, I'm sorry, and it didn't go that well. But that's the difference in the emotion of contribution versus needing something. It's a gift, but you can do it. You can absolutely do it. Next slide. So let's talk about this change. Right? What has to change in your mindset? What has to change in your belief system? Next slide. Remember, it's not about eliminating fear entirely. You're fighting evolution. We have 200,000-year-old monkey brains, and we have to overcome the evolution of fight or flight. It's critical to understand it, to move through and be an amazing prospector, to be an amazing connector, right? If the art of telling your brain is to stop it and reframe that emotion and narrative and make the call, you can control it, right? And so it may need you. I did this to a guy in South Africa, by the way. He's one of the guys that came rushing to the stage in San Antonio at a big build. And it changed his perspective. He is a different human being now from that little exercise. He still has that 10 grand on his desk. He invited me to speak in South Africa coming up in January. So we're going to fly out to South Africa and speak. Connections. It was just a haphazard relationship connection, right? But if you really embrace this and you can reframe it, that's just one of the tools I use to reframe how you can remember that I am contributing to people. I'm doing things for people. Whether it's you're helping them move and find the perfect house, whether you're changing their business model by aligning, doing some things like that, whatever that may be. Next slide. So, ring, ring. Your dreams are calling. I really suggest you pick up the phone. I really suggest you put prospecting into your business. And if you do one thing this whole weekend, in my humble opinion, this could be the domino that changes your future for what's going on. All right? Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you.